Hello, this is the Vietnam Social News Update for October 21st, 2025. Date of news coverage: October 21st, 2025. Politics. Vietnam's political spotlight is firmly trained on the upcoming session of the National Assembly, which opens next week and will run through December 11th. This session is set to handle a packed agenda that includes the nomination and approval of key state leadership positions, covering the state president, the prime minister, and the parliamentary chair. At the same time, lawmakers will review nearly 49 draft laws and 4 important resolutions. Leaders have emphasized the need for integrity, transparency, and people-first governance as the country prepares for its next strategic phase. Beyond routine legislative business, this moment serves as a window into Vietnam's deeper institutional transformation. With the forthcoming Party Congress in view, changes in personnel and governance hints are abundant. The reforms are framed around modernization, streamlining structures, accelerating digital platforms, and strengthening supervision. Political observers interpret these shifts as part of a calculated effort to align governance with evolving economic and social demands, while maintaining core party leadership and coherence across government. That said, the stakes extend well beyond the capital's halls. In an era where economic growth, social change, and foreign complexity intersect, Vietnam's political system is under pressure to deliver, not just signal. The upcoming assembly session will test whether institutional reform can move from blueprint to practice. At its heart, the question is, can Vietnam move forward with efficiency and accountability while keeping stability intact? Economy. Now, let's move to the economy. Vietnam continues to set ambitious economic targets amid global headwinds. The government has declared a goal of at least 10% GDP growth for 2026, building on a projected 8% expansion this year, and inflation expected to remain under 4%. This growth ambition is reinforced by plans to push trade volume close to $900 billion this year, and double GDP per capita to around $8,500 by 2030, underscoring Vietnam's desire to shift from rapid development toward high-quality growth. Yet, structural challenges remain firmly in view. Tariff pressures from major trade partners, slower growth in labor-intensive exports, like textiles and footwear, and the reliance on low-cost production models are all constraints. Reflecting this, Vietnam has initiated policy moves to boost private sector leadership, accelerate public investment, and reach higher value-added industries in technology, green energy, and services. The balancing act is clear: retain competitiveness now, while transforming the pillars of growth going forward. Meanwhile, financial markets are responding positively. Vietnam's stock and capital markets have reacted favorably to signals of reform and international engagement, allowing for improved access to foreign investment and more dynamic IPO activity. For economic gains to be lasting, however, reforms must deepen, especially in regulatory transparency, institutional capacity, and fiscal prudence. Growth by headline numbers is meaningful, but growth by substance will determine Vietnam's path ahead. Society and culture. Next, in society and culture, Vietnam's social fabric is adapting in line with its economic and political evolution. On the urban front, Hanoi's planned ban on petrol-powered motorbikes starting in 2026 has raised both hopes for cleaner air and concerns about labor and industry disruption. Japan and major motorcycle manufacturers have warned of job losses in the two-wheeler sector, highlighting the human dimension of ambitious policy change. For Vietnamese urbanites, this is more than a policy. It is a shift in identity, mobility, and work. Culturally, Vietnam is making strides in global branding and soft power. With a growing creative economy and youth-driven cultural engagement, the country is no longer simply a factory base, but a dynamic cultural actor in its own right. Whether through festivals, digital media, or international outreach, Vietnam is reshaping how it communicates and engages globally. Domestically, these shifts are accompanied by social expectations for more participatory governance, improved services, and inclusive growth. Yet the challenge is inclusivity. As economic models evolve and culture adapts, large segments of society, rural communities, aging populations, legacy industries, must not be left behind. Modernization should not mean marginalization. Policymakers know this. Delivering not only growth but equitable development and cultural relevance will define success in this transformation era. International relations. Finally, in international relations, Vietnam is navigating an increasingly complex diplomatic landscape, with both flexibility and intent. On one hand, ties with China are deepening, especially in border and infrastructure cooperation, while public sentiment among younger Vietnamese is softening, helping to reduce political friction in such engagements. On the other hand, Hanoi remains firmly committed to diversified partnerships, strengthening links with the United States, Europe, and emerging markets in the Middle East, Africa, and Latin America as a strategic hedge. Recent diplomatic activity underscores this breadth. Vietnam has announced closer law enforcement cooperation on cybercrime with global partners, and flagged an emerging role as a regional bridge actor in connectivity, trade, and digital policy. At the same time, its upcoming inclusion in major global financial indices and visible openness to foreign investment enhance its international standing. For Vietnam, foreign policy is no longer about simply being a follower. It's about being a participant, shaper, and interlocutor in a fast-changing region. In sum, Vietnam is crafting a role that reflects its rising economic weight, growing cultural confidence, and evolving strategic ambitions. The challenge will be to protect sovereignty, manage external complexity, deliver national priorities, and translate diplomatic momentum into tangible domestic outcomes. Thank you for listening to the Vietnam Social News Update. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And see you again tomorrow. This news summary is based on publicly available reports and rewritten uniquely for Vietnam Social News. VietnamNews.com is the official web address of Vietnam Social News. We are an independent platform, not affiliated with Vietnam News Agency or any government-owned media outlet.